game, because of course we just need a small breather ourselves, but you haven't missed much. It's been as slow as openings as it could get. Spawning here in the bottom right, it's going to be the late game master himself, the blue Terran Happy.
In the bottom left, as the Rut Zerg, it's Liquid Snute.
Yo, just realizing Happy should go in the late game sometime. Am I right?
Wait, what?
Lycan? Because he's so good at the late game?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
So, a couple of things about this game, actually. Snute, really, was he disheartened after that loss? Kind of making an offhand comment about how he shouldn't be playing, and he just doesn't know what to do, and it sucks, and, mech is hard enough to fight in the first place. For Snute, it's a little bit sad, because he's not had a lot of luck with StarCraft 2 in general lately, but, I don't know, I've always got faith in this guy to give good games no matter what. Now, unfortunately, we did see some, how do we phrase this? Like, it's almost weird to call it a mistake, because we've seen players like B-Lord and others make mass ultras work, but against Happy, it wasn't going to happen, and Snute doing it twice in a row, really. Of all that, I still think the Mutalisk Remax is probably the biggest throw of units and resources that game. But,
I think, like, I didn't realize that he had talked in the lobby, so,
he did not.
Wait.
He messaged me.
Oh, okay. Well, of course I didn't know, but if that is the case, then I have to switch like my own like view as to what Snoot's feeling right now. Because I would have thought like that last game was just like silly more than anything else. Like frustrating, sure, but not like so frustrating that you're on tilt. Because after a while, you're just gonna be like, oh, well, that sucked.
Yeah.
But if he is on tilt, then it's obviously gonna be a problem because the internet thinking clearly. I still think he's gonna try and end the game earlier. But I mean, Snute. I mean, he's not like he's no liquid hero, but he does get affected by tilt.
Well, I think one of the problems I looked at for that game, and again, this was lowly Rifkin here. Snute was on a really high worker count for a long part of the game. It was really only by me brought up during the Mutalisk transition where I said he didn't have enough mutas despite being capped. Mm-hmm. But I think like once you've got a bank of 7,000, you don't need 90 workers. Like that supply should be freed up for units, I feel, and maybe it's the difference of having 40 lings join your 18 ultras or not, but regardless, it gives you a better chance to take an actual fight than simply remax when you already have a big bank. Like I really like that he got the drones early and that he was able to like use that greed because it's Happy, a slow player. But I felt like at a point you're just kind of like, man, I don't know, Snute, 90 drones, 100 drones, it's a little too much for 30 minutes in a game.
Yeah, it's probably still not what it's gonna win him that game. 20 more supply in fighting units, or if his upgrades have been faster as they were pretty slow, probably still loses, but they certainly would have helped judge better. If you're gonna take a minute and look at that game like objectively, like just like, okay, what if I do if I get in that same situation again, then it's not necessarily the ultras are a bad idea, that maybe more so you didn't have enough, or they weren't like well enough upgraded or whatnot. So it's not the easy, like, okay, this worked, this didn't, that it could have been if he had done everything perfectly from the get-go. That said, he should be being more aggressive in this game. That just should be the way that you play, unless he really wants to subject himself to more torture.
I don't think... how do I feel? Like, I agree, aggression is good. Trying to keep Happy in a low thing. But I'm thinking back to other strategies were weirder offbeat strategies. Like, I can't remember who he was playing against, but there's that one game, I think it was a Calder was casting, where Hyun went for like double Nidus Worm, like 40 infestor sneak attack to the main. I mean, as we saw, Mutalisks were not getting to a base which Happy had like 14 missile turrets down. But for any player, whether you're playing mech, whether you're playing bio, your Achilles heel is always going to be your production. And if someone kills your production, they will eventually whittle away at that army. I think one of the things that happens too is oftentimes when that happens, I don't think a lot of Terran players, like I'm not saying in the situation of infestors, but in general, when your production starts getting compromised, a lot of Terran players don't go throw down 7 new factories. They try and end the game.
Yeah. There was no urgency in either player's play, and that ended up favoring Happy, obviously, as he's the one that won. But even, the harassment that actually works. So he tried to do something with those roaches early on, if you remember, but they didn't really do much. If they had tunneling claws and were burrowing all over the place and sniping a couple of units here and there, that just draws the game in a more of a Snute's control. So then he could maybe add in those swarm host attacks that I brought up too. Once the turrets were down, you can't do that. They're affected by anti-air when you have that flying locust upgrade, but if he had started the ball rolling earlier with harassment, then he keeps on going with harassment, then he gets a Nidus Worm, and then he gets infestors, and it's actually this constant like pressure that's actually working. That game looks entirely different, but being as passive as he was, trying to match Happy in like the same play style, that's just obviously was not the way to go, and it shouldn't be the same way that he plays. And already it's different. He has a Hydralisk Den and is scanned.
Yeah, so going back on that, actually, I would love to have seen Roach Hydra Viper that game in a lot of different variations, but as you pointed out, like it's really hard to go Vipers when there's already so many Vikings on the field. Thor's being the primary source of like just army is why I want to see more Roaches in general, but this time around Happy's getting some tanks out, and he's getting them out pretty quick. He's also getting his fourth much faster too, so both players just kind of signing this non-aggression, like I don't know, this law. Pact agreement, whatever, between the two of them.
Yeah. Well, in this game, it's not going to be nearly as long for Snute. And that was one of the biggest problems, that it was okay, and then he was banking like 3,000 minerals without doing absolutely anything, and then that's where things started to go bad. He was just too passive. Here, it should just be a case of he's waiting for Vipers to come out, and then he'll max out on Roach Hydra. Probably not with 2-2. I don't know if the timing is absolutely correct here, but at least with 1-1.
For context, too, guys, like Ravens later on, they really wreck Hydras. Not through point defense, or sorry, through secret missiles, so much as point defense drones. Point defense drones are so good at just nullifying that damage. And that's a big part of why Snute definitely wasn't thinking about that later, like late into that last game. But we're still early. We don't have 4 Ravens being produced at a time. I like the idea of the Locust once again being researched. We didn't get to see these used at all. But as we have learned, despite the fact that they are quite costly and not nearly as good as they used to be, Swarm Hosts with Harass can sometimes just knock down a planetary in like 3 seconds flat.
Happy did go for a very quick 4th base again. I mean, this guy plays pretty risky, but Snutes is just not being aggressive at the right points so far. Hopefully this big attack will be exactly what is called for, but we'll have to see. He still needs to get the Vipers out, charged up. He might want to wait for 2-2. Looks like his backup plan might be in the Flying Locust. He got the upgrade last game, just he never did anything with it. With the way that it's kind of paired up and as quick as it is, it kind of feels like he's going to try and use them.
Well, at the moment, I gotta say, for Happy's sake, he's holding the front lines pretty good. Snoot's not getting any creep too far across anywhere, except you're in the middle of the map where Happy is not. The chokes on this map are really great to have these planetaries down. He's kind of got this weird... I like it, though. He's got this weird sort of anti-ultralisk SimCity set up. Turret in the middle. That'll help cover some mutas a little bit. No, I think Blinding Clouds can go a long way for when this attack comes down. Abducts are normally what I would start preaching about, but it's only a couple of tanks and so far back. Honestly, plopping a Blinding Cloud or 2 down might be his best course of action.
Yeah. I'm a little worried. Snoots is not attacking yet. He's about to finish, but he just made like 12 more drones. He's now above 100 supply. This is usually the sign of someone who's ready to get into the very, very late game. When I was really hoping to see a very dedicated attack somewhere. It's not. It's gonna be a slow push. He's bringing the Spore Crawlers. He doesn't have Swarm Host, but this is kind of akin to what you did with Swarm Host. If you can pull the Vikings into the Spore Crawlers or make them chase into the Spore Crawlers, then that's effective enough. That's just an entire right side of this map that is apparently not going to be abused.
Yeah.
I just think that's too bad.
They've almost made it a 2-player map.
Yeah, there's 1 tank and a planetary. Like, if his entire army had swooped around, sure, it risks a counterattack, but it's Happy, and apparently he's not really, the type to do that. I think that he would have had a very nice little weak point to abuse over there. Can you chip away that barracks? Go, girl.
Eventually she'll get this. So I guess while we have a little bit of passiveness, first off, Nick Snacks, I just gave you a copy-paste response to you about that coin thing. I'll have to read the real message later, as it's quite large. But generally speaking, guys, we have recently gotten some coins printed up. Real-life coins minted that look like the Part 2 icon that we have. We're gonna be sending these out to people who've been subbed to the channel for at least 12 months. I sent out something like 170 messages, and I'm absolutely positive I probably missed a couple of people along the way. If you've been subscribed to the channel for at least a year, or at least you think you have, send me a message and I can go check it. And what we've been doing is collecting mail addresses, and not this week, but next week sometime when I've got a day off. I'm gonna basically go to the post office with 170 something envelopes and send all these bad boys out. Nice fungal growth on the Vikings, though. Oh, he's gonna get one more. No.
So close.
This is, I mean, hold position is weird, but I mean, he's not dedicating too much. Kind of that like Hellion run bys. It's like 2 roaches here, a queen there, a hydralisk here. The harass from Snute is very Terran-ish.
There just isn't a lot of units for Happy. You know, there's like 3 tanks over here, and the rest is in Vikings.
Ooh, swarm host.
Yeah, we should go see swarm hosts. I think the swarm hosts are still a good idea. Their biggest problem.
The air.
Well, they have a lot of problems, right?
They do.
Like, one of the biggest problems is that their time of attack was like reduced heavily, but the locusts were buffed. So when the locusts do get to attack something, they usually tear it down.
Yeah, you have to wait almost a full minute between locust waves.
Yeah, so that's why they're not set it and forget it. But in terms of taking down a single planetary, they're almost like a siege tank in that way. Like, you siege up 6 of them, then you bounce, and you might be able to get it.
It's almost a little bit worse in some regards, too, though, because you've got this disadvantage of they come out as flying units. So, being light units that kind of clump. I'm pretty sure you have to, don't you?
No, you don't. Either you were sick during that day, or you were drugged up on NyQuil, but we learned that.
Okay.
Yeah, because Scarlet used them, and she intentionally did not. Okay.
Well, regardless, the flying mode is going to be cool because you can hop over a ledge like this and attack the command center. The downside, though, is that if you are in flying mode, Vikings can shoot them before they land. Thors can hit them as well. I really want to see how he uses these, though.
Well,
just kind of like walking into the helmet. Like, what?
The problem about flying locusts is that they do not attack air. It's kind of a first misconception.
He's got all the way around so they can attack the base over here. That's kind of cool.
I don't know if he'll notice that there's a toggle button, though. I think that's the biggest problem. Does he notice you don't have to put him on flying, or is he just going to keep on dying all these Vikings?
Man, I'm not going to disagree, but I really don't think you can put them as ground. Like, I think they have to be air.
I was hyped up on NyQuil, I swear, like, Tempo, I think, was casting with me.
Wait, no, I'm just saying, like, I'll be happy to be wrong. It is cool to know these things. Raven's gonna move towards the north side, so both players just kind of cutting between the bases of one another. Snute's harass, obviously not nearly as effective, but more free. Planetary is holding strong on this side of the base. Now, looks like for the attack up here, there's some mild static defense. A couple of swarm hosts might be able to get some locusts out to help a bit, but he's got to basically get out of there right away. Yeah, let's take out the auto trades pretty quick, which is nice. But we're kind of at that point where, like, how do you deal with this Raven insanity? Happy's doing a pretty good job of not clumping these up. They are in 2 different groups, very much on purpose, not by accident. He knows that there's going to be the odd fungal growth or 2 to look out for. But Snute's moving towards Ultras again, and I was not convinced on the effectiveness of the Ultras last game. But at the same time, he didn't have any blinding clouds, he didn't have any assistance to them, so maybe this time around they look a little bit better. Regardless, he did evacuate the base, so he does have this one up here. Might need minerals. I think it's found out pretty quick as well. Still on cooldown, there we go, finally has those eggs back.
Well, we would turn on Planetary and accidentally walked into him.
Yeah, even with the SCV repair, that thing still goes down pretty quick. Auto turrets harassing, losing another base. I mean, for now, it's more about the gas than anything else. He's making some ultras, he's got those upgrades on the way, but he's got 11,000 minerals in the bank. I can't help but wonder, like, legs, queens, just anything to be quick throwing easy mineral units. He's finally pushing over here by like blinding clouds on those planetaries. Infested Terrans, unfortunately not targeting the SCVs, wasting shots on the planetaries. They just get repaired infinitely. So while this is going on, Snute's got all this focus on this side of the map. He's giving up very important bases on the left side. Now coming back home, realizing he needs to converge. Everything is here to stop this army, but I don't know if that'll be enough. Oh, secret missiles are going to connect.
Locusts. Yeah, a couple of them do connect on the infestors, queens. Swarm hosts do get out of there, but they've already used their locusts, so they're not useful for the next 60 seconds. I think that this might have been the pushing in a little too
A little too tunnel
quickly.
vision.
Yeah. Wait for who?
See, Snute focusing so hard on that
Yes.
bottom central base.
Because I was going to say, Happy is actually finding himself in a little bit of a choke. Now, he doesn't have a lot of tanks to abuse a choke, but it was still a nice enough position. Now he's going to get out of there. I would be afraid of a couple of fungals going down when my units aren't that well protected.
Oh man, this is such a rough spot to be in. Snute was in such a good spot. He still is with his bank. So like losing these bases isn't that devastating right now. But it's going to come down to the gas every time he makes a unit. He just doesn't have that income. Blue Flame Helling's going to try and run by here.
One gets through.
Yeah,
I mean, Snute, he has a big enough bank that he can take all of the remaining bases and still have a lot left over. But it's going to be time where he won't have a consistent income, and if they ever do fight, then he won't have a second remax. He'll only have the one.
I'm curious on the aversion of Broodlords too. Not saying go like 18 deep, but even just like 1 or 2 for free units, I think it would be kind of cool to see. But regardless, pushing back the same way he came, all these drones in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, oopsie poops.
Yeah, and there's another problem of the larva you pointed out in the last game.
Yeah, losing a lot of the hatcheries, I guess, does mean you lost a lot of the larvae this time around too. Looking for those fungals. Can he land it? That's a big clumped up army. Gets the big fungal! Is this enough to remove the ravens? Yo, if he kills these ravens, this actually puts Snute back in the game despite everything that's gone up to this point. One more fungal growth going to be necessary, though. This one not quite going to lock it down. Queens are finishing them off 1 or 2 shots at a time, and Snute actually takes out the biggest, worst part of the army. He's also got an attack on here on the right side. Took out one of the planetary fortresses. There's about 7 more in queue, but...
Can he do this, though? I mean, if he takes out all of these planetaries, then he puts them back down on even, and Snute still has over 10,000 minerals in the bank.
Yeah. Taking these hatcheries again is a non-issue. Larva is the only current issue. But if you take like 5 more hatcheries, then once again, a non-issue. But the planetary fortress here is going to have to... There we go. It's focus firing down the hydras, actually. Happy being really smart about this, not wasting shots on the ultras. But the bases do go down. Happy does have a fair amount of gas, but he doesn't have a lot of minerals to work with. So this is where the swarm hosts and those fungals really start kicking ass. They really just turn into overdrive.
I think it's a last couple of ravens, that last fungal. Very nice. Oh, crap. Oh, Snute's turning this around.
Yes,
Snute's
that
kind of
fungal
winning.
growth. Like, I cannot stress how big of a deal that fungal growth was to finally land. Big shout out by the DJ Chris Spears. 16 months in a row with that resub. Welcome back, baby. Oh, sorry, 14. My bad. Either way.
Yeah, still impressive.
Yeah.
Even more impressive. But Snute just needs to take the rest of the bases. He needs to get more lava on the way. He is fighting the army, though. The army's finally been...
Those transfuses, no! Gonna keep him alive! There's so many!
Oh, it's so close.
Okay, so it ends up wasting a lot in this planetary, too. A big problem is once you start repairing, if you don't actually actively target the SCVs, the Ultralisk will just auto-attack into the planetary. So a little unfortunate there. Happy's recovering, Snute's recovering, but I think Happy's recovering at a little bit of a faster pace. The only difference is, once again, he doesn't have minerals to work with. Snute has a crazy bank still working for him. So in this weird one instance, I actually think lots of Ultralisks will get the job done. But at the same time, these Swarm hosts, they get a special shout out. They don't have 19 kills each on them, but that's because it doesn't count kills from auto turrets or killing the odd free unit here and there. And these have been doing a great job being cost effective for Snute this game.
They've been consistent. They're not as consistent as the old Swarm host, but at least Snute's been using good work with them, killing whatever he can when the cooldown goes off. It's almost like another creep spread mechanic. Like,
oh god,
a minute's passed, okay, time to use Storm Host.
There's a lot of fungals locked and loaded. Pre-spreading the Ravens is a very smart choice. Same with the auto turrets coming down. Does he have durable materials? No. Okay, so auto turrets, this will last for a little bit of time, but not super duper duper crazy.
Snute could win this fight. Well, okay, Happy's going into a bit more of a choke now. He's going to start denying those outlying bases for Snute that Snute does need. I mean, he still has a big bank.
I don't think this is a smart move out of Happy. This really overextends him. Snute can either push in and cancel his opponent's bases, which is going to hurt Happy more than it's going to hurt Snute. Again, Snute sitting in a very large mineral bank behind this. Happy, not so much. Alternatively, Snute could just turn around with the full force of his army and once again remove those Ravens from play. Even if each of these has enough energy for a point defense drone, which they don't, the Queens have the damage to kill these. The Hydras as well.
Snute does split up his army to both attack and defend.
Everyone's attacking, everyone's defending, all over the place.
Yeah, Planetary does go down in the upper right to these Ultralisks, and I don't think that Happy's army can take on the Ultralisks that are defending.
No, those blinded clouds are so sick.
I think Snoot's done it. I think he's finally found an answer. In this game, at least, on this map, to take on Happy's mech. Happy has no more minerals. If he loses this army, there's not much of a remax.
He did get this base going. Maybe get a little bit of money off of that, but yeah, everywhere else is getting a little bit hectic. Tanks do siege, but despite these secret missiles, Snoot's still just going to tear through it. There's the fungal to catch the rest of the Ravens. Can he follow it up? Second fungal lands. He's got at least 2 or 3 more of these other infestors.
He's got it.
He's got it. This was the most expensive part of Happy's army. Bim, bam, boom.
Damn. I was blinking lights all over the mini-map, but they're all going in favor of Snoots. Yeah. Happy just has no more remax.
Planetary. Happy's out of gas, too. He can't even keep producing more Ravens. He's out of juice on all fronts, and Snoot's still sitting on 6k minerals almost, despite losing all of these bases. So this is where I really want to stress, by the way, when we talked about the drone count earlier for Snute being so high. Oh, this is a nice little block. That drone count early on gave him the bank that he has been coasting the rest of this big game on. He's like that rich kid who inherited money from his parents. Like, he didn't need a job because he's had this money his whole life to work with.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to put it. It's certainly a saved because he really has never been able to get those hatcheries back up.
No, he hasn't. That's my point. Like, he's been on this one base mining for like 10 minutes. That's about it. But like, all these hatcheries he's taking, I love not because he needs the bases, because they physically deny Happy from landing command centers around the map.
I think that's Snute has done it. Happy is going to only be remaxing on... I mean, still good units. I mean, they're almost, maxed on upgrades, and Ravens are still always going to be good, but they're just not going to be able to attack and defend. Like, the map has been such an influencer in this game. Coda was nice because, Happy, he moves out, he moves and defends almost at the exact same time. That's what happens with a small map. Snute could not take the entire map in the way that you would usually hear it. Cactus Valley is huge. When he took the map, he took it pretty safely for most of the game, and if it wasn't safe, it at least drew Happy out from his own defense. Like, this map really played into Snoot's victory here, as well as I think just the increased aggression, the variety included with the Swarm Host also helped a little bit.
I still don't know if I really want to go as a secured victory just yet. Happy does still have a fairly large amount of Ravens. Granted, these are like the last ones he's going to have this game. If Snute can break this, then yes, it's a guaranteed victory. But as stupid as it sounds, if Snute wastes too much time, if these Ravens get that energy up, if fungals are missed, there's a lot of ways that these Ravens can turn this game around.
That is true. But Snute just needs to deny him from taking...
mining bases, pretty much.
Yeah, basically mining bases, especially gas mining bases, and he'll be okay, because now his hatcheries have finally finished up. He's finally used Daddy's money to build his own company. So as soon as he takes the gases, then he'll be fine.
I think I'll keep going back to this rich kid reference, like... He's finally learned how stocks work. He's begun investing.
Yeah, he really has, and it's the drone problem is still exists. He's getting
investing
15 right now. Yeah. But he's, the one thing that was a problem was that he didn't have a lot of larvae. So while the drone count went low, there was like enough money to rebuild it. There wasn't enough larvae, so that's still kind of taking some time. He now has 4 new bases that he needs to get 70 drones.
Ooh, I don't know about this. He goes for neuroparasites, but it costs them with the secret missiles.
That was not good. That was good.
He's setting his own blinding cloud too with the neuroparasite.
That was quite bad. I don't know why. He must have seen something to say that I need to attack here, but I don't think that was correct choice.
I think he's fully aware of how desperate Happy is for money, and he's trying to keep Happy from taking these bases. And I think in doing so, he himself has become a little too desperate as well. That lead he had, gone, diminished. He's got no gas left to work with. He's forced to make Lings right now, a couple of Hydras, Queens primarily, because he needs just something. And this is really unfortunate for Snute because, again, like I said, it was looking really good for him. And he's still got some of the tools necessary to make this work, but he's just in such a bad spot now. At least compared to earlier.
Patience was his best tool there. So if he had realized that was not going to be good engagement and disengaged and allowed Happy to have the top right, well, then that sucks, but at least you still have your army because your economy is still not in full force. You still have not gotten that bank back up, and that's really what he should have been waiting for. Because, then if Happy has to defend the entire upper right side of the map, you go into their production with, like, cracklings. And, you just start doing damage elsewhere. Like, time, I think, was kind of on Snoot's side. But now he's lost out on that big army. He's lost out on a lot of, like, the infestors infestors that were helping him win the game. And it's gonna come back down again, just hoping that you get those good fungals
Oh wow, yeah, he's
on an
down to
army
8.
that's gonna get, that's gonna be in this very nice little concave position until they reach your bases, and now they have choked again.
I mean, fungling Thors is questionable. They do bring a lot of damage, but Neural Parasite. Man, Neural Parasite once upon a time had this really crazy range to it, and it made it really good to use. But Neural Parasite's range is like dick nowadays, and you could shoot anything within Neural Parasite range.
I didn't really realize that they had nerfed every single spell in the Infestor. Then they also nerfed like their movement speed too, so like everything's been nerfed in the Infestor.
Oh, I don't know about movement speed. All the spells for sure. Snute was gonna dive in here for a bit of a base trade, which Admirable unfortunately runs him into Blue Flame Hellbats.
He was unable to get those fungals that were winning him the game previously when Happy moved out. Dang, that's too bad. There was like 10 minutes there where Snute looked like he had the answer. And then Happy just was able to barely max out again.
It was the same situation that we saw here towards this base down here, though, where he was focusing a little too much on trying to kill here. Like, we see it classically in a lot of other scenarios, too. Not just Mech versus Zerg, but where you get ahead, you try too desperately to win the game, basically. And you throw your little bits of army in, where if you just waited for a bigger one, it would have been much better. I mean, he's still dealing a lot of damage, and it is a base trade in all weird essence of things. But Snute, Happy, they're both out of money. At the end of the day, I think Happy's got the better army. Not to mention, Snute's got to go through so much static defense just to kill off Happy. In fact, he may not actually be able to go through all the planetaries available, just due to the amount of units he has.
I don't think he can. It's, nah, I can't. I don't see Snute winning this after all that hype, and he looked so close to victory. Happy's army still wins out.
Well, production comes in here with 3 Thors in the main. I was actually going to chase back the Ultras there. I mean, oh man, these queens are bulking up for that last defense. They're just going to be like, fuck you, I'm going to transfuse this Spinecrawler forever. He's got to run, get those units back home, transfuse them up. Happy, yeah, he's, where did these come from? What?
Whoa. Scandicane beat Hydra.
Who is Scandicane? He's like some German player I've never heard of who's probably using hacks. No, I'm just kidding. But like, damn, he's taking out 3 very impressive players, I gotta say. Tefel, Beastie, then Hydra.
I was looking forward to seeing Hydra deal with Happy's playstyle. Because Snute's having trouble here, and now I'm not. I'm gonna see who the hell Scandicane is.
Yeah, who? I have never heard of this player. I am very excited to see who it is. Even before it's like Rain smurfing or something.
Right.
Hey, Arknog, by